Welcome. My name is Thayn Niemand and I am from East London. That's really wonderful to be here, ladies and gentlemen. And so I've been very fortunate to be part of the It's My Biz show that's been on TV. And one of the things we come across very often is this thing around cash flow. So what happens is when we look at the businesses, very often we see that the problem of cash flow is really a symptom of something we're not doing right. And again, yesterday in Bloemfontein, a gentleman came up to me and he was talking about his turnover. Man, my turnover went from this, then it jumped to that, and then it jumped to that, and I couldn't help myself. I had to say to him, you know, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash flow, that's reality. So I don't want to talk too much about turnover today because it's important, but it's also about profit. So there are the 7 issues that I'd like to share with you today relating to cash flow and pricing, as well as why don't people buy from me? What am I doing wrong? I also want to talk about systems and processes, which I believe are incredibly important in any business, and staff issues, and a little bit about financial funding. What are the main objections that we have and how come we don't get the money? And lastly, what I would like to rather call my informal business plan. So let's shoot right into the cash flow issues. Now, as a symptom, a good doctor will tell you, let's go and find the cause. So I've identified these are the 5 causes. Now I know you're going to see 4 there, but there are 5 causes for cash flow challenges. The first one is there is no cash to flow. We're not selling, okay? So Bill and his session would have dealt with that. But there is also the danger of having too much sales. In fact, cash flow problems and challenges can be caused by having too many sales. How it works is this. You get a lot of business and you take on a lot of business. And when you take on a lot of business, you expend a lot of effort. And maybe you've got to buy a lot of supplies. And you get all your business out. Your customer only pays you maybe in 60 days, but your supplier wants his money cash up front or within 15 days. Not so. Ladies and gentlemen, that's called overtrading. Now, if you're in that situation of overtrading, the way we like to look at it is say, first of all, try and take a deposit from your client up front. Number 2, make sure that you can extend your supplier payment term. So if you've got 15 days to pay your bill, go and speak to your supplier and say, listen, we're having a bit of a hassle. Can you extend it to 30 days? Is there anybody that still gets paid by check? There are. Please ask the customer to pay you by electronic transfer, because then we don't have to wait 10 days for the check to clear. Not so. So those are the kind of things we can do when we're overtrading. If you have a good customer and a customer that is creditworthy, because that is vital, what you can do is approach a financier, a bank, and what we ask them to do is, won't you factor or discount my invoice for me? And how that works is you go to them and you say, listen, I've got an invoice here from a very, very good client for 100,000 Rand. I really need the money now because I'm in the situation of overtrading. And then they will research your financial situation. They will research the client's financial situation, and they can advance you up to 70 to 80% of that invoice as an upfront payment. So if you're in that situation, approach the relevant division of the bank and ask them, can you factor this for me? Can you discount? Now, the big issue around that, ladies and gentlemen, is they will ask you, have you delivered? So the mere fact that you hold the invoice doesn't mean you're home and dry. You actually have to have delivered. So cash flow problems are not caused only by too little sales, but also by too many sales. So you need to get the timing right there. As small business owners, when we start our business, I don't know if that happens in Johannesburg and Randburg, but I look at all my competition's prices. Okay, they're selling my stationery for 100 Rand. They might be selling my pens for 20 Rand. So what do? sell it for cheaper. Exactly. So we'll go 85 Rand. And we still wonder, why aren't we making money? Because we're cheaper. There are very few customers out there, ladies and gentlemen, that in the market that you're working, that will make a decision based only on price. There are 3 C's you have to bear in mind when you are pricing your product. Cheapest is not necessarily best. In the book, In Search of Excellence, I forget the author now, Jim Collins, I think, says the following. He gives an example where a perfume manufacturer made a perfume that was, let's call it $5 a bottle, whereas everybody else was selling at $15 a bottle. And he thought he is going to make a killing. After 3 months, because of lack of sales, they pulled all the perfume off the shelves because it wasn't selling. Waited a few months, I think it was also 2 or 3 months, put all the perfume back on the shelf. Same perfume, did nothing, but marked it up to $12, started selling. Okay, so it's not only about competitors' pricing. So the first C, you have to bear in mind competitors' pricing, but it is not the be-all and the end-all. What you also have to take into account is your customer's market positioning. In other words, you must price to your market. So bear in mind your customer position. The third thing, which is vital, and that's what I'm going to spend a lot of time on later, is your own costs. Because your competition might be buying product, might have a very different expense structure than you have. So you're competing on the basis that you're equal. There is no business in this country, in the world, that is equal. So be very careful of only looking at competition's prices. You have to look at your costs and the customer's pricing, not your customer's ability to pay, your positioning. Because if you don't do the pricing right, ladies and gentlemen, you might sell a lot and make no money. And I don't know if you would agree with this, but if I have the opportunity to sell 100 cheeseburgers and make the same money that I would if I only sold 50 cheeseburgers, I would rather sell 50 cheeseburgers, not so. So I would rather have the same money for the less effort. Am I strange? No, thank you. So inappropriate pricing could be a problem for your cash flow. Go back, check your pricing, and we'll come back to that in much more detail later. And then the other problem is, I might have the sales, I might even have the pricing correct, but you know what? My clients aren't paying me. I'm not collecting the money fast enough. Golden rule, get your money in as quickly as possible, ladies and gentlemen. Pay it out as slowly as possible. Okay. But don't pay it out so slowly that you lose the discount on offer, or that the sheriff of the court has to deliver a summons to your domicilium, Sitandi et executandi. Okay, your address on which you've elected to receive legal documents. So get your money in as quickly as possible. If that entails taking deposits, I normally don't take deposits from clients with whom I have a relationship. Bill gave you that whole explanation on relationships. But if it's a new customer, I'm very, very strict, and I will take a deposit. The reason for that is I've done far too much work and not been paid by not taking a deposit. Guy comes off the street, he would like me to form a trust for him. I form the trust for him, he never comes back. Now I've spent all that time and money and he hasn't come back, so I've wasted that. So now if you come off the street and you want a trust and I don't know you, I'm going to charge you a 50% deposit. So if you don't come back, that's fine. I actually haven't lost any money. So debtor control is very, very important. Starts with your invoice, ladies and gentlemen. A very simple document that can make all the difference in your life. Now, the way it works is this. If I go to the CNA or any stationer, PNA, all these stationers, and I buy one of these green books, you know, one with the triplicate, and it says invoice, factuur, you know that one? And I send my customer an invoice handwritten, says you owe me 10,000 Rand because I painted your house. And my customer has also got a cash flow problem. How is he going to treat that invoice? Because what he's going to do, I want to suggest to you, he's going to take all the invoices he has, And he's going to put them on a desk, and maybe you do this as well. He's going to put them on a desk, and he's going to choose which one is he going to pay. Now, I can promise you, if you have an invoice that is done beautifully in Word, and it's got a color letterhead, and it's typed up very neatly and professionally set out, or you are in a position where you have your correspondence pre-printed, and your customer is looking at that beautiful invoice, and he's looking at your invoice, which one is he going to pay first? He's going to pay the beautiful one, yes. So check your invoices. Are they looking good? You need to send those invoices the day after you have delivered your service. You have to send those invoices out on the day you've delivered your product. Not 3 weeks later, not 4 weeks later, because if your customer's getting the invoice that late, he's probably thinking, oh, this guy's got more than enough money. I don't have to pay him now, I'll pay him later. So delivery of invoices, ladies and gentlemen, are absolutely vital in your business to prevent cash flow being caused by debtor control or lack of debtor control. Now the next question is, so I've delivered this invoice, and another little hint on the side, check the invoice 3 times. Make sure that the invoice complies with your client's requirements. If he wants an order number on it, put an order number on it. If he wants an invoice number and an account number, put an invoice and an account number on it. In my small business, my wife is the financial manager. That is a good thing, ma'am. Okay. And what I do is, when the invoices are done, I ask her to check the invoices, because she will pick up something that I may not have picked up. And I can't tell you how many times I've sent invoices in a hurry and I've forgotten one silly little item out of the invoice, and the client sends it back to me and says, sorry, man, you've forgotten this out. I said, no problem, get onto the computer, fix the invoice straight away. But by the time it gets back to the client, their cut-off date is passed. Now I've got to wait another month to get paid. So invoicing procedures, ladies, are vital, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing I do is I penned my invoices for the date that payment is due. If payment is due on the 15th, you can be sure on the 16th, if I haven't been paid, not me, the wife, picks up the phone, dear Bill, I cannot find proof of your payment in my bank account. Can you please fax me or send me your proof of payment? Can you fax me your deposit slip? Because I can't find it. I've looked through all these pages of my bank statement and I can't find it. He doesn't know there's only 2 pages. Okay. But the point is, I am becoming the squeaking wheel. Because if I complain, I will get paid. If you don't complain about not being paid, and I'm meaning that in a polite sense of the word, if you don't complain, I'm going to get paid. And you are the one that wants to be paid. So debtor control, ladies and gentlemen, is awesome. Golden rule. If you haven't been paid in 90 days, the chances of you ever being paid are minimal. Hand it over to the attorney. Now we thought, oh, man, it's so expensive, Thayn. Yo, these guys, are there any lawyers in the room? None. Are we too scared to put our hands up? Okay. So I'll tell you, what happens is you get attorneys that will work on a contingency basis. So they will collect the money and then pay you over maybe 70 or 80% of that. So it might not necessarily cost you in attorney's fees. But seriously, 90 days, your chances of getting paid are really very, very low. Okay. So debtor control is the next issue. We're getting the money, we're selling, we got our prices right, but we're not collecting the money fast enough. And in the meantime, we're bleeding. We have to pay out. So get that right, ladies and gentlemen.